Hi everyone, welcome to this short demo on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Now here I'm going to walk you through some of the features of the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. I'm going to walk you through the look and feel of the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Now my name is Stephen Kahuria. Now below this video you'll find a link to the complete course to get certified in the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Once you take this class, you should be ready to take and pass your Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Foundations course. Now there are no prerequisites to take this course. Anyone can take the course and begin their journey into cloud computing. Very easy. And right now I'm going to show you, or I'm going to walk you through the look and feel of the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Now, once you go to Oracle Cloud browser or the website, you're going to see this option, View Accounts. And now, depending if I'm going to assume you don't have any accounts, so I'm going to expect you'll be expected to click on sign up for the cloud free tier. Now, once you sign up for the cloud free tier, Oracle is going to give you about $245, $300 worth of credit, which you can use to test drive their features. Now you have those features available to you for about a month, or as long as your credit allows you. You can actually roll this, or you can actually have this credit running for a whole month as you test these features in the Oracle Cloud. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in to my console. Now, once I click on sign in, it's going to bring me to this page where it's going to say cloud account name. Now, this is my cloud account name. I'm going to click on next. And once I click on next, it's going to take me to the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure sign-on console. Now, as you can see here, it has my tenant name, and it's a single sign-on. So I'm going to go ahead and click on sign in or continue. Now, this is my username. Now, this is what you used, or this is the email address that you used to sign up for your free tier. And I already have my password populated. So I'm going to go ahead and click sign in. And this is going to take me to the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure console. As you can see, this console right here, the user interface, it's very simple, very easy to navigate. And like you can see on top here, says you're using a free tier account. To access all the services and resources, I need to upgrade to a paid account. Now, I'm getting this message because I've already exhausted my 30 days free 30 days free tier with about, I think I got about 245 euros. And I'm going ahead and just close on this option here. Now, you have your quick actions, you have your compute, autonomous transaction processing, autonomous database warehouse, you have your object storage, your resource manager, and here you can actually search for your resources. Now below here you have your getting started. You have your key concepts and terminology. You can use this to to go through some of these terminologies that are used in cloud. Now some of these are labs, like this one, Introduction to Apex. It's actually a lab that you can do for free. You can take advantage of the always free tier and resource services. Introduction to Resource Manager, getting started with the ME Shop Basic. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this option here. That's your menu. You have your core infrastructure, compute, block storage, object storage, file storage. You have your networking. And then below that, you have your autonomous database warehouse, autonomous transaction processing, and your resource manager. You have your integration, and then you have monitoring tools. And then you have your account management, identity security, and governance and administration. So these are some of the features you can take advantage of once you sign up for the Oracle Cloud account, free tier account. Now, I'm going to start off by selecting this networking option, Virtual Cloud Network. So we'll go ahead and create a network here because we cannot launch any services if we don't have a network. So we have two options here. You can create a VCN. That's a manual network creation. But then you have this other one here, start the VCN wizard. It's actually easier to use a VCN wizard, so I'm going to click on that. Now I'm presented with this particular these two options right here: VCN with internet connectivity and VCN with internet connectivity and site-to-site VPN connect. I'm going to use the first one because I'm not going to need to have a VPN site-to-site connectivity. And again, this is just for demonstration purposes. So as you can see on this particular image or diagram here, this is how your network is going to look like. Now this, like it says here, creates a VCN with a public subnet that can be reached from the internet. Now also creates a private subnet that can connect to the internet through a NAT gateway. I will talk about this in the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure course, and also privately connect to the Oracle Services Network. Now below here it gives you a preview, or just gives you a brief of what's going to be created. You have your VCN, public subnet, private subnet, internet gateway, your NAT gateway, and your service gateway. So let's go ahead and click on Start VCN Wizard. Easy to use console. You get this option. Now I'm gonna give my VCN a name. I'm gonna call it test compartment. I'm gonna leave it like it is. VCN, all this I'm gonna leave like they are. I'm not gonna change anything. I'm gonna click on next. That's a good thing about using the VCN wizard. You don't have to change anything. Everything is populated for you. So here you have your review and create. You have your VCN, the name of the VCN compartment, the tags, the CIDR block, the DNS label, your domain name. You have your subnet, the CIDR block, security list name, route table name, and below here you have your gateway. You have your security list, your route tables, and I'm going to go ahead and click create. And this takes less than 10 seconds. You have your VCN up and running. So I'm going to click on View Virtual Cloud Network, and there it is. You have your cloud, you have your VCN up and running. As you can see here, you have your CIDR block, you have your compartment, the date was created, you have your domain name, and below that you have your public and private subnet. You have your route tables. You have your internet gateway. This is going to allow you this actually allows connection to outside, allows you to get access to the internet. And below that you have your security list, your DHCP options, and below you have your local peering, NAT gateways, service gateways, and VLANs. Now you're going to have all these options or resources available to you once you create your VCN. Some of these, like you see, your subnets, your route tables, your internet gateway, and your security list and DHCP options are created by default when you're using the VCN wizard. So right here you have terminate. Now you can use this to destroy or terminate or delete this particular network, but please take note that you cannot delete or terminate a network if it has resources already deployed in that particular network. When I say resources, these are things like your compute instances, your storage, object storage, your database. So it's not going to allow you to terminate your instance if you have your VCN if you have any of those already running. So let's go ahead to the instances, compute instances, and now we're going to deploy a compute or a server. Create instance, and then you have your name. You can give this instance any name you want. In this case, I'm gonna say demo. And then below here you have your compartment name, and then below here image or operating system. Now if you're using, or if you're trying to, if you're getting this error message, there was a problem selecting a build for Oracle Linux 7.1. Now this happens because of the availability domain. Now I'm going to head and change my domain to AD2, and there you go. Now I'm able to actually deploy my image or Oracle Linux in this particular domain. Now we'll talk about the domains in detail when you get started with the Oracle Cloud Computing course. Now here you have your shape. Now this is your processor. I have 1 core CPU, 1 GB memory, and 0.48 GBs network bandwidth. Below here you have your network configuration. Remember, we created a network, and this is the name of the network we created. and you have your sub compartment. We're not going to change any of those, but below here we have this thing they call use network security groups to control traffic. We're not going to check anything on that. And below here again we have what we call adding SSH keys. Now SSH keys allow you to remotely connect to your VCA, connect to your compute instance or your server. So you have to have an SSH key for you to be able to connect to this particular instance. But that's a lot. That's beyond the scope of this video or this lesson. But we're gonna look at in detail on how to do that on the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Foundations course. So I'm gonna go ahead and create connect, but I'm gonna be presented with an error message or a warning telling me you're not going to be able to connect to this instance using SSH because you have to have saved the private SSH key. Are you sure you won't create the instance without it? I'm going to say yes. Like I said, just for demo purposes, we're not going to go into much detail on creating your SSH keys. Now it's going to present you with this screen here. As you can see, it's provisioning your instance. All is free, and that's the name of the instance right there. So you're going to get a public IP address and a private IP address. Now, you're going to use your public IP address to connect via SSH keys. So that's why you're being told you need SSH keys for you to be able to connect to your instance. Now, because we did not create SSH keys before we provision the instance, or before we create the instance, then we're not able to do that. But there's a way around that. You could forget to do it, and you find yourself, you deploy your instance and you cannot connect to it. And there's actually a way around that. But again, that's beyond the scope of this demo. As you can see here, you have your public IP address, your username. That's a common username you get every time you create your instance. And then you have your private IP address. Now you can use your private IP address if you have more than one instance, or you have two instances trying to talk to each other or communicate to each other in the same VCN. So you have your domain here, available domain. You have your fault domain. You're gonna have your region, instance details. That's your test network. You have your image right here. That's the image that you use to deploy your instance. And then you have all these other options about your instance. Now it says you're 15% progress creating your instance. So let's go back here and look let's go ahead and look at some of these options that we have here. Now on your instances, you have your instances, you have instance configuration, pool, instance pools, auto scaling configurations, boot volumes, and boot volume backups. Now, like I said earlier on, all these highlighted items, you can have access to them, or you always have access to them, even though you have exhausted your free tier resources. There we go. Now the instance is up and running. So as you can see, it's very easy to deploy your instance. Shows you your work request, create instance, 600% accepted, start and finish. Now, if you don't feel like you want this instance, or you change your mind about it, what you simply do, you just come in and stop the instance. Click on stop instance. It's going to be stopped. And since we don't like it, we're going to click on terminate. Permanently delete the attached boot volume. You say yes, and then terminate instance. So that's the beauty of Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or any cloud service provider out there. You can create your resources, you can destroy your resources anytime, and as you can see here, we're not going to be charged, and I'm not going to be charged for using any of these resources because they're provided for free by Oracle. So I'm going to go ahead and look at my network, the network we just created. And I can actually do the same thing to this particular network. So I'm going to click on test. I'm going to click on it, and you can see here there's this option to terminate the instance. So I'm going to assume that the compute instance has already been terminated. So I'm going to click on terminate. But if it is not terminated, I'm going to be presented with an error message telling me that I cannot terminate this particular network because there are resources deployed in this network. So let's see what's going to happen. So I'm just go ahead and click terminate all, and it's going to go through this, go through all those resources that are actually available on that particular network. Just the ones we talked about earlier on. You have the DHCP options. You have a security list, security group, security list, route tables, your dynamic routing gateways, your local peering, internet gateways, NAT gateways, service gateways, and VCA. As you can see, there we go. It says that the process has been stopped. Resource terminated up to this point cannot be. Let me go ahead and close. Now let's go ahead and look at our instances and see if it's still there or it's still terminating. That's the reason why we're getting that error message. As you can see, there we go. It's still not gone yet, so we have to wait until it's completely terminated so we can go ahead and terminate the VCN as well. So as we all do, because you're all doing this within the VCN or the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, we are not consuming any bandwidth, so we're not going to be charged for anything. So this is how Oracle, this is the beauty of Oracle deploying services in the cloud infrastructure. So we just have to wait for that to get done, and once it's done, we'll move on and terminate the VCN. As we wait for that, let's go ahead and explore some of these features right here. You have your regions. You can manage your regions. You can have more than one region. You can deploy your resources. For example, my resources are being deployed in Germany. I can deploy my resources in Virginia. I can deploy them in India. I can deploy them anywhere, depending on your account. Now, you have your profile. You have your profile right here. You have your tenancy, your user settings, and then you can sign out from this option. Let me go ahead and there's an option here called account management. You have your cost analysis. You can see how much you spend, your cost and usage, your budget and your invoices, and you have your identity. Now you can create users, and you can actually assign these users resources or rights on what they can and cannot do in the system. Like you see here, I have about one user I created, and this particular user can do and cannot do some of the roles in this particular VCN or this particular tenant. You can see I have a group, and this particular user is actually assigned to this particular group. So you can create a password, reset a password. You can enable multi-factor authentication. You can resend a verification. So all these services you're doing, you can actually do them on premise. So I'm assuming when I say on premise, you have a physical server, you have your system admin doing all these things on a physical environment. But this is a cloud infrastructure, same scenario, but the deployment is very different. It's in the cloud. You can do much more in the cloud than you can on an on-premise environment. So let's go ahead and see what's happening on our instance up here. Compute instances. And our instance is gone. So we'll head back to the networking, virtual cloud networks. And we will attempt to terminate this particular network. Hopefully we are not going to get any error messages because we don't have any resources running on this particular network. So let's go ahead and click on terminate all, and it should work. As you can see, it says goes through all these options. We don't have any error message, and that's it. We have our resources terminated. So we don't have anything running on this particular network. We don't have any instances. We don't have any virtual cloud networks running. So this is what cloud infrastructure looks like in reference to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Very easy to use. The user interface is very easy compared to other cloud providers, but cloud providers do provide the same or maybe similar, let me say similar choices or similar options when it comes to your resources in the cloud. So again, if you're interested, you can click on the link below this video, and you can enroll in the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Foundations course. After you take that course, you should be ready to take and pass the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Foundations 2020 certification. Thank you very much.